Okay, so the first question, what do you think of documentaries? Anyone?
They're usually informative, more of a serious note than other television programmes that you watch, but they can be entertaining as well.
Yeah, the ones that I'm watching at the minute are Secret Lives of 4, 5 and 6-year-olds, which I found really engaging and interesting because seeing it from different perspectives. And I also watch 24 Hours in A&E, not really for the medical aspect of it, but just to see the way that people respond and the relationships and how it impacts on them. But some of them I tend to stay away from because I find them quite disturbing. I know that Ross Kemp used to go and do ones where he would travel around the world and see different factions, and each season it would get worse and worse, and he would see more and more disturbing and not particularly pleasant people in them. So, yeah.
Okay. What do you think of a serious tone such as homosexuality for a documentary?
I think personally, I think it's a good thing to explore. I think you have to be a bit careful because if you're going to be looking at from the point of view of challenging stereotypes, you have to be careful that you don't reinforce stereotypes accidentally when you're doing it. So that's just something to bear in mind. But I think it's a brave thing to take on. Getting people to talk about it, I think will be interesting.
Yeah.
And who's going to talk in your documentary as well. But if you can crack that, then I think that's a really interesting line to go down.
Okay.
It's an interesting question. You sort of got, it's what they call an a priori assumption with serious, because you're sort of suggesting that there are documentaries which aren't serious, and homosexuality by definition would have to be serious. So in some ways you're almost in your question putting forward the premise that this is a genuinely serious topic as opposed to other documentaries. So I mean, you know, anything to do with identity is a powerful, and we know in our society. So I think it's a very good, very interesting thing. But as Mr. Green, we're allowed to mention as Mr. X.
Yeah,
as
you're
my
allowed
time says. It's the treatment of that would be very interesting, particularly for a society where homosexuality is not illegal. You know, but potentially the market for that documentary could be going into different cultures or different areas where there is a different perspective. So I think the treatment of that would be really interesting.
Okay. What do you enjoy or look for in a documentary?
For me, I look for something that it's going to bring to me. So when I watch a nature programme, it would be the visual quality, seeing something that I've never seen before. And for me, it's to experience something new. I don't necessarily want to retread over old ground. I want to see something new that's going to make me think and then ponder and then potentially come back to it a day or two later. So that's what I would like to want to see.
Yes, I want to learn something, I guess, but also I hate saying I want to be entertained while I'm learning. I don't want it to be dour and dull. I want it to be that message given to me, whatever it is, in an entertaining manner, because I'll remember it more.
Okay. What channels do you watch documentaries on and why?
Well, personally, because I said before, I'm a big fan of the Channel 4 Dispatches documentaries. I like the way that they're put together. I'm not a big fan of the kind of Sky One or docu-soap type documentaries. I like to feel that there's a serious purpose and there's a reason why it's been made. As Mr. York was saying, I like to learn something as I'm watching it. That's the most important thing. I feel like if I can connect with what I'm watching and I'm learning something, then that's a big plus for me. Where I don't always get that from some of what I would personally call sort of dumbed down documentaries that you see on some of the sort of more mainstream channels.
Okay.
So BBC Two maybe?
Yeah.
Some of the BBC
Yeah.
Four things, the things that are coming from the lesser known channels, but definitely Channel 4.
I think the voices of authority are important as well. So, I mean, you mentioned documentaries, similar like Stephen Fry, Simon Shelby. You know, those people that seem to front every other documentary that's on. And I think again, it would be because some documentaries you do get a sense of it's that person first in big letters, representing this thing in small letters. So again, you need to get that.
I think also with Dispatches, and I know it's the whole premise of the programme, but they are deliberately not controversial, but they take on topics that are controversial, that aren't soft. You know, if you look at something like Stacey Dooley, you know, people getting drunk in Magaluf, yeah, we all know that they do that. But I think Dispatches takes it to another level where it exposes things that perhaps you hadn't thought about, or didn't really want to know, but probably should know.
I would say Channel 4 as well. The only frustration I have sometimes with them is when I feel that they are leading me on for the whole 50 minutes, hour, to get to the point of who did this.
Yeah.
We'll look at that in a minute. So
Yeah.
now we're going to focus on this bit. There can sometimes be a tendency to over-egg and build things up. So why did the Mayans leave the temples? Why did this happen? And I don't mind exploring the other things, but if you start mentioning it in the third minute of the documentary and you don't give me the reveal until the end, it can become a distraction and a frustration because everything else seems quite mediocre compared to it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Do you feel that homosexual abuse has improved or worsened over the last few decades?
I think it's more in the news, so you would probably assume that it's worsened, but I don't think you know what's gone on in generations past, so I don't think you can actually answer that question.
I would say a lot of it has to do with social media. What used to go on, rightly or wrongly, behind closed doors and was hidden from the world, now there is this need to tell everybody immediately what has happened. Something will happen and it will break on the news within literally 30 seconds or so because of this social media, and there is a higher profile from it. I feel that there, as Mr. X was saying earlier, there is less tendency now to stereotype homosexuals in a very feminine way. They're shown as being the same as everybody else now, which is a more positive aspect. The use of the word gay is used quite a lot. Whether or not students actually use it, they use it in quite a... If they don't like something, everything is referred to as that's gay or that's so-and-so. So words like that need addressing, but I would say it's difficult to judge whether or not it's improved or worsened.
Okay.
I mean, you've only last few months. Obviously, the Rugby World Cup, you had quite powerful adverts where the ex-Wales captain was sort of talking about his outing. But then within the last week, you've obviously had Tyson Fury with his comments. So it's, you know, again, what Anne was saying, I think it's very interesting to we don't know because it's not necessarily been a mainstream topic. The data's not really been accessible.
Would you be able to name any support inside or outside of school for homosexual abuse? Ask Norman. Okay.
And there are some other websites that I can't think of at this point in time, but there's lots of support that people can go to and talk to people for support. I mean, starting with any of the safeguarding staff in school, and then, you know, from that they will direct and point students to, but Arsenal is a really good website, but there's support there.
Okay. Anyone else?
I probably
That's
answer
probably,
more exactly that.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, that's what I would say.
So following up that question, do you feel there's enough support for homosexuals?
From a personal perspective, I mean, probably by the silence, and I maybe need to educate myself a bit, but aside from going through usual school channels and maybe looking at potentially some websites, you know, certain societies, I wouldn't necessarily know the next step
What
beyond
do you
that.
think that they want?
I wasn't ready for a question. Turned it round on me. What do you think support do they want?
Because are you saying that because they're homosexual they need extra support, or they need support because they're being bullied, or they're being abused?
Asking it in terms of, like, if there was homosexual abuses, do you think there is support to counteract that for them?
Yes, but that's exactly the same channel that anybody would follow if they were being abused because they've got ginger hair.
Yeah. Okay.
So those channels, those routes are not defined for a specific purpose. They are defined for any abuse or bullying that goes on within the establishment.
And in terms of support, there are systems in place to help anyone because it is in a sense a form of bullying, it's just a different one. With everything as regards bullying, it's quite difficult because actually some of it might be the students merely commenting on something that they've heard from their friends, or they've heard from home, or that one of the celebrities on the internet they particularly like. So it's shifting the whole of society's viewpoint on it, so that they are not merely becoming an echo or a voice, but basically reciprocating what the other people are saying. But yeah, I would say there is support. The problem is that students, if they have this happen to them, it's the same with bullying. Apart from us basically publicly displaying how it's been dealt with, it's very hard to actually show that it has been dealt with. You can't go to so-and-so and say, this is what I've done, because a lot of them want to see action has been taking place, and that's not something that's possible to happen. So it's just changing society's viewpoints on it, I would say, is the main point with that.
Are you looking at it purely from the point of view of students?
For anyone.
Okay. Because I think you'll need to speak to them. Possibly they can
Yeah.
answer that question better than we possibly could do.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, I think in terms of your, putting my media teacher on that, in terms of your documentary, it might be worth just nailing down, are you talking about homosexuals within the college context, or are you talking within society, because that's a different experience for different groups of people.
Okay.
So I think Annie raised a really good point there. It might be, in society in general, there might be enough support. Probably the other way around actually. Probably within school there's enough support, but if you're, I don't know, a window cleaner in your 20s, have you got the support that you need? So perhaps just nailing down exactly who it is that you're looking at, and whose experience are you following. It might be more than one person's experience, and then you'll be able to answer that question with a little bit more clarity.
Okay. Do you think there is enough people aware of homosexual abuse?
I would say that, because even as I was coming out this morning, they're saying that police are at a stretching point as regards domestic abuse taking place now.
Yeah.
I would say that all kinds of abuse, it's not something that you want to tell anybody, so it takes place in your home or wherever, and it's behind doors, and people do not want to talk about it. So I imagine that people are aware of it through, rightly or wrongly, soaps that portray people doing this. And you won't know this, but I remember when I was younger, I used to watch something called Biker Grove, and they tried to tackle it, and there was a kiss scene in that. There are things through soaps, the way that they portray it. I don't think they particularly portrayed it in a very positive light, but other ones might do. I would say that's the main way people are exposed, unless there is a high-profile case in the media where something like that comes out.
Okay.
That's a good answer. The only thing I would add to that is, if you're talking about levels of abuse, and you're just talking about, I don't know if you can call it banter, I hate that word, but you know what I mean. Because for instance, I was just speaking to some of my year 11s this morning for calling each other gay, for doing whatever they were doing. So on that level, probably there's still a lot that goes on, on the very low level.
Yeah.
If we're talking kind of, I would class that as verbal abuse. But if you're looking at verbal abuse, then unfortunately I think it is still reasonably prevalent, as Mr. York was saying earlier on. It's still used as an insult, isn't it, sadly? I think that's starting to change, but unfortunately it's not changing quickly.
Okay, that's it. Thanks very much.